I said earlier, I talked about vegan amnesia. It's important to remember, for us to remember our own carnism. If you are today vegan, or plant-based, you may have had this experience or have this experience where it's really hard for you to remember that you ever weren't. It's like we stop eating animals and we feel like we were always this way. But it's really important to remember your own carnism and to share your own carnism. Most people who are vegan today were not always vegan, whether we remember that or not. It's when you remember your own carnism, it helps you to stay connected with the people you're communicating with, instead of seeing them as other and having them see you as other as well. And we are bilingual. We know what it's like to live both lifestyles. So it is up to us to try to bridge that communication gap, because we actually do speak both languages in a sense, in a way. And we are going to be the people who are going to make the effort to bridge that gap. It's not fair, but it's just the way it is. When you can remember your own carnism, it helps you stay connected to your compassion for people who haven't made these changes. Haven't changed their lifestyle the way that you might hope they would. And it helps other people feel more connected to you. People continue eating animals for all sorts of reasons, psychological and practical. People don't change until they're ready to change. Often they don't change until they feel safe enough to change. Understanding that people are, good people can participate in harmful practices, and that doesn't make them bad people, helps us, to stay connected with our empathy and our compassion for others. And this, of course, also helps us to advocate more effectively. I always recommend that we ask people who are not vegan, that are one of our asks be to become a vegan ally. And I always recommend that we try to do this. And we often assume that either you're vegan and you're part of the problem, or you're not vegan and you're part of the solution. And what this does is it prevents like 99% of the global population from supporting a cause that needs all the help it can get. A vegan ally is a supporter of veganism, even though they're not fully vegan themselves. Some of the people, in my experience, who have done the most for the cause are people who are not, who still eat animals, but donate, maybe to my organization, to other organizations that are raising awareness about these issues. They're journalists who write articles about the work that we're doing, the work that some of you out there are doing, and raise awareness among, maybe hundreds of thousands, millions of people. There are many, many ways that people can use their influence to help transform carnism. And when we do make an ask, I always recommend asking people not to go vegan, but to be as vegan as possible. It's the only rational and respectful ask that we can make, right? You can say plant-based or vegan, either way. Nobody can be more vegan than what's actually possible for them. And what they feel is possible for them. So it's the only rational and respectful ask. When we allow people to be the expert on their own experience and decide what is possible for them, we're being respectful of them. And frankly, if everyone in the world were as vegan as possible, the world would be vegan quite quickly. It's also an ask that people are much less defensive against. And one of the most important things that we can do when we're advocating any kind of social change, or even if we're not, is to commit to building what I call relational literacy. Relational literacy is the understanding of and ability to practice healthy ways of relating. When we are more relationally literate, our communication is much more effective. Communication is the primary way we relate. And we are in a much better position to help create the kind of compassionate, sustainable world that we want. Because at the end of the day, the problem we're working to transform is not just carnism or climate change or social injustices. It's a problem with the way that we relate. If you think about some of the most pressing problems, not only in our personal lives, but also in our world, such as war, poverty, racism, patriarchy, climate change, animal exploitation, carnism, speciesism. you can see that they all have a common denominator. This common denominator is relational dysfunction. It's dysfunctional ways of relating between social groups, between individuals, between humans and other animals, between humans and the environment, and even between us and ourselves. We are always relating to ourselves. So if we want to change the world, we need to change the way we relate. And finally, know there's reason to hope. I've been traveling a lot up until recently with COVID, but until then, I have traveled to about over 50 countries now, and met with people in positions of leadership, working in plant-based and vegan organizations, and also in the media, the mainstream media. And I have seen support for veganism and grow. It is mushrooming everywhere I have gone, without exception in the world. South Africa, Taiwan, Kuwait, everyone says the same thing, that support for plant-based vegan lifestyles is just mushrooming. And this is really, really exciting. I have little doubt that veganism will replace carnism one day as the dominant ideology. It's not a question to me of whether, but rather when. So I'll just end by saying a big thank you for being a part of the solution and for helping create a more compassionate and just and relational world. Thank you.